To our next demo of RESTpoint. In our last demo, we showed how we can add some additional properties, and we added a property to portfolio and added a property to stock. The next thing we're going to come in and say, we've really just dealt with little single properties. But let's say we want to now come in and start adding in an object here. So let's say on stock, we want to say what the exchange is. So this is where data types come into play. So resources are associated with a path. Data types are going to be objects that have multiple variables, and they can be used as objects in your resource. For OpenAPI, they're all components, but this just gives an extra little abstraction to separate the two objects. So let's say I'm going to add a stock called an exchange. And in an exchange, it's going to go country, which is a string, and the actual name, for example, NASDAQ and USA. So I'm going to add that data type called exchange. Now I'm going to come over to my stock, and I'm going to add this field, and I'm going to call exchange. And I'm going to choose a type. So I'm going to pick data type. I'll say exchange. Okay. Now I'm going to update that. So we should be able to go to our database and see now in our stocks, you'll see we now have exchange and country. So we now have country. We're going to put USA, NASDAQ, and I'll save. And I'm going to do the same here. USA. And I'm not sure about IBM, but let's call it the same of USA. And we'll call this this exchange to be, maybe it's the same. So let's use NASDAQ as well. So we added an exchange. So what we wanted to show you is that it's not just properties that you can have in your resources. You can have nested objects, and I've nested objects, I've nested objects, I've nested objects. So it can get into quite complex types when you start adding this in. And of course, this is all handled when you go to do the prototype too. So let's deploy this as our next deployment. And then we're now up to beta 5, and we're going to say added exchange to stock. And we're going to say copy the data points and data to the endpoints. And let's run this. So this again is deploying, so I can go back to any of my previous betas and they're all still working. And let's go check out our newest one here. This is our latest one. And I'll click it right here. And you'll see it's called beta 5, added exchange to stock. I'll come down to my stocks. I'm going to say try it out, execute. And you'll see there's my stocks. It has the exchange, the country. You'll see that extra object in there. So you get a sense now that you're not limited to just single properties. You can now come in and use data types. When you generate OpenAPI, it's still all listed as components, the same as these, but this will help you sort of organize your objects so you can clearly see the resources versus the data types. And that concludes this next demo of using data types in your prototypes. Thank you.